good.
While watching Invincible, there was one thing I kept seeing in the comments, something everyone seemed to hate. In every episode, Mark, aka Invincible, gets beaten up and is almost completely useless. Some people argue that this is part of his character development, but others ask, how long is this character development supposed to take? Yes, I agree with them. Invincible himself is really frustrating to watch. Sometimes I even see people mocking Invincible. I think everyone has a point in their own way. But still, in this video, I wanted to explain why Invincible keeps getting beaten up and why his growth process takes so long. After all, it's really tragic that a character named Invincible is getting beaten up by literally everyone. The Omni-Man and the robots completely wreck him. And even Molar Twins almost killed him. So is Mark maybe overrated? That's what I really want to talk about. Don't worry, I will try to make this as spoilerless as possible. But before that, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. In this channel I talk about animation movies, animation series and animes in general. Now, first we have to talk about the Viltrumite race. Within the Viltrumite race, there are pure Viltrumite lineages. For example, the Emperor Argel and his descendants are considered the purest Viltrumites. That's why they are physically far stronger than others. So for example, we know that Omni-Man has two children. One of them is Mark Grayson, aka Invincible. Since Mark's mother is human, Omni-Man's Viltrumite genes became dominant, and this made Mark nearly as strong as a pure-blood Viltrumite. In contrast, in Oliver's DNA, his father's Viltrumite genes are also dominated, which is why Oliver looks more like a Viltrumite than an insect. However, due to his mother's DNA and his accelerated growth, Oliver will never be as strong as a pure Viltrumite. No matter what he does, he will never reach Mark's potential. This is actually addressed later in the series. No hybrid species can ever be as strong as a pure-blooded Viltrumite. Now, let's talk about Invincible's slow growth process and why does he get beaten up in every episode. Well, first of all, Mark is still in his early 20s. Actually, he's like 19, he's not even 20. He is extremely young. However, one of the biggest factors for Viltrumite's growth is getting beaten up. It's actually pretty similar to us humans. For example, when you train your muscles, you actually damage your muscle fibers, creating tiny tears. And as a result, your body thinks it needs to get stronger, and it repairs these tears and develops the muscles to be stronger than before. The human body is also designed for growth. That's why when you play basketball or try to jump higher, your body adapts and improves over time. Similarly, Viltrumites grow stronger the more they fight. Every time Invincible gets beaten down and every time he gets torn apart, he becomes tougher and stronger than before. And that's why Mark has the potential to become stronger than any other Viltrumite. Just think about it. He took the beating of the century from Omni-Man. By the way, Omni-Man lived for thousands of years and trained endlessly. So after their brutal fight, Mark came out stronger than ever. On top of that, every new battle he fights, every time he takes a hit, he keeps growing stronger. No other Viltrumite in the universe has had the chance to fight opponents as powerful as Mark has in such early age. That's why in the future, Mark will definitely become far stronger than any other Viltrumite. But for now, he is still too weak. Let me give you a simpler example. I'm sure you all remember Alan the alien, right? Under normal circumstances, Alan was able to use his abilities that no one else in his species had. That's because Alan was a super enhanced being engineered by Teedos. After getting beaten up by 3 Viltrumites at the same time, he was completely torn apart. Later on, Alan was saved and allowed time to recover. And after he recovered, Alan came back stronger than ever. Why? Because he also had Viltrumite genes. And after his recovery, even a punch from Thrak didn't faze him. He even fought against multiple Viltrumites without taking a scratch. At one point, he was literally mocking them, because after all the damage he had taken, he had evolved beyond them. He basically leveled up like 10 or 20 tiers. Right now, he might be even stronger than Omni-Man, but we don't know that for sure. So, let's get back to the Invincible. I know Invincible's growth might feel slow to viewers, but in reality, Mark will reach a level of power in his 30s that took thousands of years for other Viltrumites to achieve, because he is fighting the strongest beings in the universe. So his evolution is actually being sped up. That's why he will eventually become the strongest of his kind. Like, have you ever thought about why characters like Battle Beast, Conquest or Thrag always seek out for the strongest opponents is simple because they want to become even stronger. The Viltrumites follow the philosophy of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and their age doesn't matter. Even though Conquest is very old, every time he heals, he becomes stronger than before, and that's why it's not a good idea to don't kill a Viltrumite after beating him, which will be a huge mistake because they will recover and become stronger. So the bottom line is, you might think you're watching a slow development arc, but in reality, you're watching one of the fastest growth arcs ever. Like, would you rather watch Omni-Man train for thousands of years to reach his level, or see Mark surpass him all just in a decade? Yeah, so that's why the Viltrumites are really crazy. They even fought themselves in order to become the strongest empire in the whole universe. Yeah, it's basically the survival of the fittest. Genetically, they are species obsessed with constant growth, and that's why they live such a disciplined life. Their personal evolution means the empire's evolution. Even when a high-ranking warrior dies in a battle, the other Viltrumites will simply say if he wasn't strong enough to survive, then he was weak and deserved to die. So they basically don't care about death. If you die, you're just weak and you deserve to die. You have to be strong enough to survive and get stronger. But anyways, I know everything I have explained still doesn't fully answer the question why Invincible keeps getting beaten up. So there is another thing to consider, and that's Mark Grayson is an idiot. I mean, last week in season 3 episode 7 we saw Mark fighting against the other multiverse Marks. Every other Mark was really serious and fighting for life and death. On the other hand, Mark was clueless and he didn't know what to do. And that's the thing with Mark. He is obsessed with being the good guy and not killing anyone, but that makes him weak. He just doesn't use his fully powers unless it's a very critical situation, and that's what makes him so frustrating to watch. I get it. Like, even Superman gets beaten up sometimes, but when he needs to use his powers, he has no problem using his full power. But when we look at Mark, he is just okay with getting beaten up. He also acts way too passive. Like, if nobody pushes him, or if no one who he cares about is in danger, he would never use his fully potential. I think they made this character way too passive, and I feel like they want us to hate Mark, and most people are not questioning his strength. They are questioning his intelligence. He has so much power, but he's not using it and staying passive, which makes him feel like one of the most useless characters in the series. Like, come on, Mark. The other Invincibles came to the world and broke your girlfriend's leg, and they are destroying your world. And what does Mark do? He just sits there with his girlfriend. Like, dude, at least he could finish 1 or 2 Viltrumites, you know? But in between all these disasters, Invincible did nothing, while the other characters were the ones actually fighting and saving the world. Yeah, so these are my thoughts. I think the show hypes him way too much. I mean, sure, in the future he might become the strongest character in the world. I mean, in the universe. But right now, he is a useless guy. Even Cecil thinks there are tons of Viltrumites out there. But once he realizes that there are less than 50, his entire perspective on Mark is going to change. I mean, at the end, they managed to fight against 18 different Invincibles. So if less than 50 Viltrumites arrive, they might figure out a way to stop them too. But right now, Cecil believes that the more fighters we have, the better. That's why he doesn't want to lose Invincible just yet. Yeah, so that's why I totally understand most of the negative reviews. Anyways, this week, the last episode of season 3 will come out. And if they make Invincible look this weak and passive in his fight against Conquest, I swear I'm gonna have a big problem with these story writers. At the very least, they need to show him fighting with his all strength instead of just standing around and trying to talk and doing nothing. I mean, after all that training and all those beatings, he better at least show some improvement, right? But I can tell you guys, if you read the comics, I think you will be more satisfied. But if you only watch the show, this whole situation looks super frustrating. I get it. So, alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If there are any other videos you'd like to see, make sure to comment below. I'm reading all of your comments. That's it from me now. Take care and see you next time.